pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Marion County Commission meeting, June 15th order. Any public forum? Say anything?
Comment? You're asking for comment?
Yeah.
Okay. Public.
Public comment.
Yeah, public comment.
Alicia Weiser. Do you have an address?
No.
Thank you. A few months ago, I brought an issue to you where a planning and zoning member had been allowed to serve 11 plus years of a 9-year term limit. And you were told that you could appoint him to another 3 years. I'd like you to remember that at that time, I told you anyone who said that that was acceptable was either woefully terrible at math or lying to you. I advised you to never take their advice again. I stand firmly behind those words even today. They were in direct violation of Marion County resolution. I'm not privy to what goes on behind closed doors when you're discussing potential litigation, but on January 23rd, 2023, that's when you received that advice. You were given advice that likely resulted in man-hours to avoid that litigation. But the problem is you paid that person to advise you, for advice that was supposed to avoid litigation in the first place. It's likely that the county paid twice, once for the advice and once to avoid the litigation caused by the advice. The advantage we now have is we can see a pattern. Last week, that same person's advice concerning conflict of interest was that planning and zoning members can affect regulations that govern their income. They can have a signed contract saying they will not negatively affect an industry and still vote on what that industry can do in this county, but have to recuse themselves only if they're voting on a cut that involves their land. Let's put this in county commissioner terms. The commission passes resolutions all the time that affect how county does business. Now suppose a commissioner has a personal business. That commissioner would recuse himself from voting on any contracts or payments that he might receive from the county, as we've seen you guys do. But according to last week's advice, a commissioner wouldn't have to recuse himself on a resolution that regulates how that commissioner's trade does business within the county. For example, a commissioner with a plumbing business could promote and vote on a resolution that says only plumbing companies located in Marion can bid for county contracts, knowing it puts his company at an advantage in the future. It could even say the county can only hire plumbing companies that have a very specific kind of training, knowing that his company is the only one of a few that qualify. He might even be able to persuade 2 other commissioners to vote for it. This would directly affect his income in the future. That is a conflict of interest by the very definition, and any upstanding person in this community would agree. This advice once again puts the county in a precarious position for litigation, but this time we have an advantage. Earlier in the year, you requested a list of potential alternatives. Did you withdraw your request? Have you received that list? Last week, someone brought up how council can use Zoom to join meetings, and it's considered the same as being present. This opens up a whole new world of opportunities for our county. At some point, you were all unaware of this behavior, or maybe you used it to your advantage in the past. I really don't care. However, from this day forward, each of you is culpable for allowing this to continue to happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Yeah. Dan, I had to cancel, please. Tom Britton, rural Florence. I'd like to thank the commission and Councilor Dave Crowfoot for addressing our concerns last week about windmill noise, TV interference, and lights. TV reception should be the easiest to address. Contact the FCC and notify them there's an issue with television interference due to a wind farm. Even an expert with a signal meter can verify signal interference, as long as it's not a Democrat reading the meter. Noise should be monitored by an impartial, independent recording over a period of time, as the noise changes daily depending on wind speed, humidity, and wind direction. Just to take data after a complaint is ingenuous and doesn't reflect reality. Orsted monitoring their own noise level means they will never violate compliance. The problem with the sheriff's department investigating the issue is that the sheriff's department and his wife have a wind participant agreement with Expedition Wind. I have it there, so does he, or what's like that. I filed a court request to find out if Mrs. Sawyer, my opponent in the upcoming election, declared the wind project agreement in her statement of substantial interest. I found out that not only the agreement was not declared, but her spouse, the sheriff, her business, and any other substantial interest also. Maybe that's not a conflict in Marion County. Jeffrey Sawyer, not sheriff at the time, sued me for $35 million. He is the only person I know that has been plaintiff and defendant on the same case. What's that tell me? The sheriff is for sale. The main facet of our lawsuit was a protest petition. The county zoning consultant, Russ Huey, who is not a lawyer, invalidated our petition. He did not count Randy Eidson's land and others towards the petition. That's how ridiculous this is. This should have never happened. During discovery, we hired a professional landman for an expert witness who carefully reviewed the legal descriptions and related documents. He found 61% protesting plaintiff acres touching wind farm leases. We only needed 20%. Why is Mr. Huey still hired by the county to adjudicate procedure? This is one of the unresolved issues, like others discussed last week, that will continue until they're resolved. Another is, why did the zoning administrator issue construction permits over 2 years after the CUPs expired? The CUPs expired April 1st, 2020, but construction began in July 2022. She should be in today to ask these questions. The public deserves answers and accountability. Our land is not a commodity. It's our lives. Sometimes a birthright handed down for generations. Our lives have been stolen by greed and corruption. County corruption. Commissioner Crowfoot said last week that when...
Tom, you can't put names out there.
What?
Yes, you can. You can.
They say I can.
Can on elected.
Public official.
Okay.
Commissioner Crowfoot said last week that farms provide a good income tax base and the lights don't hurt anybody. Marion County has lost 2 lumber yards, $2 stores, a hardware store, Wendy's, Donahue Manufacturing, a Cardi's convenience store, and others since the windmills have been turned on. Wind farms don't provide a good tax base, they destroy them. That's all I got for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anybody online? You start, need to approve the agenda.
Make a motion to approve. What do you want to add?
I would like to, just, when Sharon comes in, I just have a couple points. I'd like to circle back to last week for clarification on a couple points, if that's acceptable in that time slot.
Either changes or additions.
Oh, yeah, and I was supposed to pick them up and do I had it. Lanny,
Motion to approve. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Do you need to repeat the motion or?
I try not to talk.
I'd like to add, the discussion, we're up on the Hillsborough water request.
It's already on
Who's
there.
been married?
It's on there already.
215.
Oh, I'm sorry. What's that? Make a motion to approve the agenda as is.
Second. Second. Just need to vote.
All in favor?
Voted.
Aye.
Okay, we have the minutes of June 8.
Any corrections or additions?
Motion to approve as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
1-0.
All right, we have early checks in the amount of $31,221.32.
Any questions on those?
The only question I have, and I will bring this up with Isaac if he comes in, I don't know if he's coming in for the Park and Lake mobile home portion, but again, this month, we paid $110 to Atmos Energy to heat a dock, and I just question why we're using gas if they heat a dock in June.
Sorry, I did follow up with Isaac about that. And I thought I had sent that out, but must not have sent it to y'all. That is just the minimum charge for the gas.
We're paying $110 a month just to have gas out there.
Is that a commercial rate type thing then? You know? Must be sometime.
Let me find the information from his email.
It does seem a little steep for a base rate.
For a base rate, it seems like that's excessive. I would,
Let me find that.
I'd check with Atmos and see what kind of a.
Turn it off for the summer.
then you got a hookup fee, but
Right, I just want,
$110 seems out of line for a,
Seems a
I mean,
little
we're
high for a base rate.
paying $108 for the shop, and $43 for the park hall, and I'm not sure if they've got gas, hot water heaters or what in there.
Yeah.
$108 for the park office and $110 for the heated dock. We'd be cheaper, maybe better off buying a propane tank.
No.
If that that's $400, if you figure a base charge of $100 a month, that's $400 a month out there. Times 12 is, that's a significant, 1, 2, 3, 4, no, actually 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4. That's a significant,
$4,800 a year.
$4,800 a year.
But they probably do use a lot in the winter to keep that ice from freezing up. I don't know how that works into there.
I wonder if it's, sometimes the utilities have, I'm just spitballing. Sometimes utilities, you have high months and you have low months. So they give you an average for the whole year. So maybe the winter you're not paying so much and the summer
I
you're.
can imagine they probably use quite a bit in the winter.
I mean, I'm just
I
saying,
think we're on a level billing
Okay.
agreement for that, but I did have that.
it just
I'll
seems
still try to find it. It's kind of
weird.
impossible to
It's
find.
all over the place. Between 108, 110. If those are base rates,
You
that's,
renegotiate.
I'd just like some clarification on that, because it seems.
Anything else?
Seems excessive to me.
Make a motion that we pay the $31,221.22.
second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Isaac now.
I had a question on your utilities, the Atmos.
Commissioner Dirks, did you want to follow up with Isaac with your question?
My question is, we got four Atmos Energy Services out there paying $110 a month, or $110 in June for the heated dock.
I can check on that because April, so typically we'll shut the gas off April. I talked to Tina about it because April's was a little higher than normal. We did keep it on for the month of April because we had that cold spell in there. But the gas has been shut off. The furnace is completely off. The gas is still on, but it's turned off to the furnace and it has not ran since probably the first week of May. So I don't know, which I think.
I know last month's bill was,
It ran in April, but it maybe ran for, which if it even turned on, because we turned it off there probably the May 3rd or May 4th.
it just seems.
High.
I can understand why you might have some gas use in the shop if you got hot electric or gas hot water heaters. But $110 just seems excessive for the heated dock in June.
And that's what's gonna.
Even in May.
I will. I'll go back and I'll look at where that was at for the last couple years, and we can see and compare because, like I said, the gas has been completely shut off down there since probably May 2nd or May 3rd.
So it's not a base rate.
Well, and that's what I'm wondering. I don't know. I don't know what I was at. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know what I was at last year at this point, what that is down to. But typically during the summer, I mean, that's the only thing that the gas down there goes to is the furnace inside the dock. That's the only thing that would be on. But the valve is shut off and the furnace is completely unplugged from the wall. So I know nothing's running down there.
Got a leak.
Huh?
Must have got a leak.
That would be the only thing that it possibly could be, but I think if that was the case, they would know because they know it's shut off. But like I said, I don't know what our base rate is, and I don't know where
They shut it to meters, what I'm saying.
where we were at.
Shut it off the furnace doesn't mean that we've got a small leak somewhere to the line going to the building.
Yeah.
The other question is what duration was this bill for? Was it for April?
I think this is May.
Or is it?
I think this is May's bill because the way that billing has worked with them, talking with Kathy, we don't get that bill until post that month we pay. So like from Atmos for the month of May, we don't get it until May is over because it's always an early check for the month. So I think this is probably May's actual bill.
If their cutoff, is third week in May, then you got some of April in there, but
Right.
It's for May.
it's the entire month.
5 to 6/2.
So it shouldn't have been on at all from 5/5 to 6/2.
So what are the charges breakdown on there? What does it say?
There's multiple invoices, you can look at them.
I'm thinking that the Pizza Hut, that even though we weren't using any of that minimum fee was over $100 a month.
That's what I was gonna say. I can go back and I can
Got a winter events securitized cost rider on it, 2880. Still, gas is 62. Still, it's a winter rate.
You need to ask for a government discount.
I wouldn't think you'd have that winter cost in May.
Well, that would be potentially what was mentioned about a level billing, but I don't know that we have that agreement, so.
So they did charge us for 800 cubic feet CCF actual usage from 5.5 to 6.2. And if it was shut off, there should be 0 there, but
Yeah, cause we have a valve right there before the furnace that is off, and like I said, the whole furnace is completely unplugged. Cause every once in a while, we'll have somebody that gets in there and they'll mess with our thermostat. So we just shut the whole thing down, so if they do mess with the thermostat, it doesn't matter, it's not gonna kick anything on. But, like I said, I can go back and I can look at where we were at the last couple years for this month. I don't know that off the top of my head, but I have it in the office.
they are charging us $63 a month for a facility charge. Maybe check into that.
Yeah, I will, cause looking at that, the office furnace and the shop furnace, to be 100% honest with you, neither of them have ran for the month of May either. And they're both each at 108. So I'll go back and I'll look at the previous years and I'll see where we're sitting and see if maybe there's something going on there.
Thank you, Isaac.
Okay. I have resolution 2026-20 that you all approved last week, amending the resolution 2021-07 for the regular meeting schedule for the board. Just need your signatures. Let's see. Okay, I have a budgeted transfer from Road and Bridge to special equipment in the amount of $111,111.12.
I'm going to approve the budgeted transfer.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We have a disaster proclamation resolution. It would be
26-21.
2026-21. Ratifying previous declaration of state of local disaster emergency for Marion County, Kansas. Chairman Dave Crowfoot issued a verbal disaster declaration on 8/15 on June 9 of 2026.
Make a motion to approve disaster proclamation resolution 2026-21 ratifying local disaster emergency.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I have two pretty quick items, I think. The first one is a purchase request, which I put on the table this morning, or before the meeting. This is for 2 laptops for the billing specialist, and this is covered by a grant. We just received the quotes, and so the deadline to spend the grant money that we have allocated is Friday. This is a budget neutral item because it is covered by a grant. It is a need that would have to be met elsewhere if we did not approve. So my recommendation would be to go ahead and purchase, but we have a request for 2 laptops and that they would be purchased with grant funds for the health department, and each one would be $1,274.28, which was the recommendation of our IT provider.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and purchase the 2 computers for the health department out of grant funds.
Any discussion?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
The other item that I have was in your packet, and it is the draft policy for the funding request. So that was there for feedback and potential adoption.
How are you? Good. Oh, is it? I'm gonna sit in my car for lunch.
We shouldn't do that.
See anything wrong with it?
Does it address everything that you were looking for?
I'd make a motion to approve Marion County policy and requirements for nonprofit funding requests. Or do we need to change that outside entity funding request?
Good to see you. You too. Yeah. Bye.
A little more encompassing than.
I would agree. I would second that with the text noted.
Any other comments? You made a motion.
Made a motion, I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, I'll make that update and we'll get them sent out.
I had a quick question on the treasurer's report. Just a question for Tina. We keep a fairly sizable amount with municipal investment pool. I don't believe we need to have that much money in there, because we can get much better competitive bids from a local bank, as long as they can pledge.
Dollar for dollar.
Yeah.
I can have her come address that with you all at the next meeting if you'd like.
I mean, she may have a good reason.
That's all I have.
We're ready to talk about campsites.
Yep.
Any questions on terms and conditions?
We sent the revision to that agreement. I believe that was just an email by itself.
You have any questions or issues?
No, I don't. We went through and measured all those lots. So pretty much, I mean, just so you guys are aware, like where the one that was proposed last week, the one to the north of that wouldn't handle the 70-foot. And it was so from that trailer, including that trailer, 6 of them from there to the south were the only ones that would be able to handle that 70-foot without any issue. Which they're listed there on number 3, H3.
Is that total 6 or total 7?
23, 25, 27, 29, 31, 33, 6.
Any other discussions? Or
I just have one comment. The last time we updated the campsite fee on this was over 2 years ago, January 1st, 2024.
Correct.
I know our costs, I mean, if we're paying this kind of the Atmos costs or electricity costs have gone up, water costs have gone up, sewer costs have gone up. I personally would suggest that we review those costs and potentially increase the rental rates for that,
Talking about lot rents.
the lot rent,
Okay.
to accurately reflect our actual costs.
Is that something you'd want to do at the end of the year? Kind of like how we've done in the past, like have that conversation then or sooner?
Well, I'd like to, start working on that so that, I don't know what the rest of the board feels, but
in
I
December?
think it's June now, so I don't wanna come to you in November and say, we need to look at,
Yeah.
you know,
And I have a breakdown of all of that stuff in the office. I think in the past, like pretty much when we started to slow down each year, we've come in and kind of gone over all of that. And then tried to make, I guess, whatever appropriate changes we wanted to make for January. But I have all this broken down month by month in my office, yeah.
When we raised those in 2024, that was the first time they had been raised in how long?
I think we said 12, I think it was 12 years.
12 years. And better to do it now because we got a lot of backlash.
in the last 2 years, I would bet that costs have gone up almost as much as they went up in the 12 years previous.
Pretty close, probably.
Um,
Wouldn't disagree.
and I don't know, personally, I think it's something we need to evaluate at least every 2 years, if not, at least look at it generally every year, but look at updating of every 2 years, it's at a minimum. With that, I would make a motion to approve the updates to the Marion County Park and Lake terms and conditions for mobile home campsite use. Specifically the adjustment of trailer size on mobile homes located on lots 23, 25, 27, 29, 31, and 33 Pine Tree.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Chairman, I have a question for Isaac. I didn't follow up on this and I apologize, but I don't think there's an issue based on my looking at it. 7 to 14 on width. We didn't ever speak about any change to that. They do have a slightly wider variety in the very newer ones, but there's an awful lot of them out there at 7 to 14 when I checked with several dealers. I assume you're still okay with that. That's why I didn't suggest any change to that.
Yeah, I mean, there probably are a few that you could go a little bigger on it, but I mean, I don't think there's any
Yeah.
reason to.
When I look at the map, I wasn't sure that was gonna be something we wanted to do anyway, so.
And most, I was gonna say, because most of them, you could fit a bigger one in the lot, but then most of them want a shed or they want a little
Right.
deck. So then you get that on there and yeah, it'd be pushing it. But I mean, from what I understand, the width has never really been much of an issue. It's mostly been the length of it.
Okay. Fair enough, I just wanted to be sure.
Yeah.
Anything else report from the lake?
Trying to get caught up on mowing.
Thanks, Isaac.
Yep, thank you guys.
Five minutes?
Can you pass those down? I should have one for every commissioner. If I can, right? I already Chase County this morning, who's left this all sitting on my desk. There you go, you go. Okay. I start this out every year by reminding you that we are a not-for-profit law firm. We operate throughout the state. The only difference between us and other law firms is we're not in it to make much money. And we do very well at that some years. Last couple of years have been probably the hardest years in my office, and I've been there 33 years now. Getting attorneys to come to Midwestern Kansas is difficult. It used to be, I remember when I was hiring my first attorney, I think I got 56 resumes. I've had a position open now off and on for the last 4 years that I've had difficulty filling. Finally, I'm gonna get that filled up come September. Found a young lady who graduated from Emporia High, went to Emporia State for undergrad, and moved out to Maine to go to law school. And she was looking for a job to come back to Emporia. So I think that'll be a good fit. And hopefully I can start doing some more cases again, because we got into the point where we had to cut back on anything we didn't have to do or didn't need to do. And that affected Marion County some, because we quit taking court appointments over here because we just didn't have the time with 2 attorneys. Last year we did 23 representations in Marion County. 10 of those were civil cases. 9 of those were cases under the public defender contract that continued from 24 is when we stopped doing them. So some of them hang around a while. Those child needed care cases, I've got a couple of them. You know, the kids come into custody when they're 9 and they don't get out of custody until they age out. So the number I don't like on this report is the total number of rejects. Those are people that met our priorities and qualifications, and we weren't able to take them because we just didn't have the staffing to do it. That means there were 32 people in Marion County that were looking for legal services and we couldn't help them with it. And we're very picky about what we take. We sit down every year, we got a local board, made up of 3 attorneys, 3 community members, and 3 client members. And we set priorities for the office. We also invite SOS and the domestic violence shelter to set those domestic priorities. And we get pretty picky on the domestic side. If a young lady comes to me and says, I need to get a divorce because I want to marry my boyfriend, I'm probably telling her, no, not a good reason. You can go save up your pennies and get an attorney. Now, if she comes in and tells me he's beating on my kids, I'm going to start paperwork that day and hopefully be in the courthouse the next day. The cases we did in Marion County last year, we had 1 disability case. We stopped doing adult Social Security cases in Emporia. We're only doing children's now because we found that having an attorney from Emporia drive to Kansas City for a hearing was not very efficient, and the hearings are in Kansas City, Topeka, and Wichita. So those officers are now covering them, but they're still getting done. But we had 1 successful child's case from here, and if you can look at that, that means over a 3-year process, that would put $250,000 back into Marion County. Now, that's not a lot of money every month. I mean, they're living on $9.94, but with kids, the money isn't really the important thing. The important thing is the medical card that comes along with the benefits. That means they can go see the doctor, and when they go, the government's going to help pay for the bill. And that's pretty good for a parent who has a disabled child. I had 1 client in Lyon County. We got her on disability, and her parents had been paying about $700 a month for prescriptions. And I think they both worked minimum wage jobs. I don't know how they got by with that, but they did. They were robbing Peter to pay Paul, I guess. We did 5 protection cases over here, and some of those morphed into divorce cases, but they stay under that protection code because when they come in, that's what it was. And our funding changed about 2 years ago, the Violence Against Women Act funding, to allow us to keep those cases. Used to be we had to open 1 case and then close it and then open another. Now we're allowed to just merge them all into one. And we did do 1 guardianship over here. We've started doing some more guardianships. We've got a program we work with DCF where if a child is in need of going into custody maybe, if there's a family member that they can find that they can place the child with, that keeps that child out of state custody, we come in and do the guardianship. And that saves the state quite a bit of money because foster care is not cheap. And I was really surprised because there's not any on here. We started doing some more expungements. Gentleman in Emporia, Richard Porter, called me about 3 years ago and said, hey, do you do any expungements? I said, no, nobody funds them. He said, okay. And about 3 days later, I got a call from the Emporia Community Foundation, and they're holding on to $50,000 worth of soybeans. In the elevator, he had done $50,000 worth of soybeans to us and said, start doing expungements. And the reason he wanted them done is not because they could help people get a job. He had done one for one of his employees. He owns a huge cattle operation. And he had done one for one of his employees, and his attitude change before and after was incredible. Because after, all of a sudden he's back to feeling like a good citizen. Because all of a sudden that felony charge is off his record. And he doesn't have to walk around and feel like a criminal anymore. And he said that was the most wonderful thing, to see that attitude change. And so we've started doing them more. I've done more exposures the last 3 years than I have done in all my 33 years. So it's pretty good. But the difficult part for us is really getting attorneys coming. I mean, how many attorneys are you down to in Marion County now?
No, he's talking about county attorney.
County attorney isn't even from here. She comes in from where at? Erie County maybe?
Morris.
Well, she doesn't live in Morris County. But I know she's the county attorney over there because we still do.
So that's around Lawrence somewhere, I think.
Yeah, I think she's up in Erie County. She has a big animal rescue that she lives at.
Wow.
Yep. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
We're just thankful we still have your service.
Yeah, I enjoy getting over here. Sort of enjoy this courthouse, and I've enjoyed the judges I've had over here. So. And if you have legal problems, somebody comes in the office and has a legal problem, send them to me. If I'm not able to help them, I know somebody I can send them to. That's the great thing about working at KLS. We have 56 attorneys across the state. And if I need to know something about a Social Security case, I'm calling Lowell Paul in Lawrence. He's been working here since '72. He's won about 500 federal cases on Social Security cases. I don't think he's lost any. He's just incredible. But he doesn't want to go to court. He always makes somebody else go to court for him. But if it's a domestic case, I can call Brandon in Topeka. If it's a military benefit case, I can call the Manhattan office. And I can refer people to the right place to get things they need done. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Does anybody need a copy? I would print out one more than they needed. How are you doing?
So this agenda item is looping back to last week's discussion about the jail control system. And I sent some specific information confidentially to the board, as that contains specifications that should not be discussed in open session. So if you want to discuss any particulars of those systems, that would need to be done in an executive session for security purposes. But if you're we can discuss the general information.
I look at that every night before we go. Every morning when I first get up. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
So really, this is just looping back to what the board requested of more information. If we go back to what you were looking at last week, we do have the need for those. I mean, I guess, what are you needing? Do you need me to catch you back up on the conversation, or? Okay.
Just trying to find it. The email went.
Okay. Let me just go back through the agenda item information from last week, and then that would potentially help. I think it says vendor comparisons or something on the email. I can look for that. So basically, the agenda item We did have two vendors to provide those jail control services, including fire alarm panels. We had several funding options mentioned. We have the quotes were from $287,000 to $315,500, and we did have different funding options that we were discussing as well. So today, what we're really looking for is the go-ahead for a specific vendor, if you're ready for that, and then also the determination of how you want to pay for it. Let's see if I can.
There it is. Clear by Tuesday. I couldn't find it.
Yeah, I think lately it's more and more difficult. I think Microsoft is trying to make things difficult. It's really hard to find things in
There's all
email.
the other stuff that comes in too.
Mhm.
Need to unsubscribe from.
Was there a hard copy handout on that? Is there a hard copy handout on that, Jim?
Never opened it. Never opened it.
No, I can provide that. If you'd like to, we could go into executive session to discuss the details.
How long have you been working on this, Phil?
I've been off and on working on it for a couple of years. But since probably March, I think is when I kind of really started diving into it and getting things tied down, and that's kind of when we started having a lot of issues with one of our panels.
You know, I've slept since then, but I guess it would have been nice to have had a little bit more of a heads up.
Yeah. I've been working with Tina. We've been trying to get, different quotes tied down on it. And this is what we've finally been able to. One of the quotes was early April when I got it, and then we had an updated quote in April again. One of the companies said does both, and one company just does controls. And so we got another company that gave us a quote on the fire panels. So we had two different quotes there. And these are all fairly local, at least within the state of Kansas.
And I understand that you're looking at quotes. I guess my point is it would have been nice to have a little bit more of a heads up that we had a major funding need coming up.
I don't disagree. It's not
Well, just on half, we did have Kobe here, and a lot of that stuff was getting handled in-house.
right. I think that's where it initially started.
Initially,
Didn't happen until Kobe left.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't understand how valuable Kobe was.
because Kobe was we had talked when he started working here, and that's one of the first things I talked to him about when he became employed is, getting this system overhauled and to where we have somebody not 2 days away to be able to, work on things and maintain things. And then, so I really wasn't diving into it. I knew we were going to need to do something. And then when he just up and all of a sudden was gone, it was like, oh crap.
I would have ideally liked to have done this along with the budget process, but the need kind of has arisen and the timing is not preferred, but it still does need to be handled, so.
Basically the last 3-4 months, we've noticed we've been having more and more issues.
I think let's if we need to talk further about that, we need to do that in executive session. And I think it might not be a bad idea to just do that so that commission can ask questions that they have openly and we don't risk any security
That's the broad base of what.
Is that all right with the commission? Okay. Oh.
Did you speak up?
Stealthy.
I move that we recess into executive session in order to discuss specific jail control system information pursuant to KSA 75-4319B, matters related to security measure. Wood, Ed, Jim, Tina, and Jeff. So, 40 minutes.
Well, maybe, you wanna maybe start with 15 or 20?
15 minutes. We're back here at 1:43.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
So we're back in open session now. No decisions were made.
Is there a recommendation?
Based on scope of work, long-term operational reliability needs and risk considerations, ECC would be the recommended vendor. If you had wanted to look at solely at cost, and other considerations, the other vendor would also be acceptable.
We wanna, have backup. If we have a failure, we better go to larger company.
And just as a refresher, the total project cost from ECC is $315,448.69, which includes a service agreement, and we have the option of a payment agreement for 3 years at a maximum cost of $4,000 per year for financing. The other vendor, ACES, the total solution, which would involve 2 vendors because ACES does not provide the fire alarm or the fire panel. The total of the project there would be $287,114 with no service agreement. And then the on the financial, we would
Did you say that they offered extended financing too or not?
No,
Okay.
there was no financing.
Right. So regardless, I mean, there are two questions. One is which vendor and system we go with, and then the other one would be the payment. How to address that.
If we went with the one with two vendors, we would have the problem of, it's your problem, not my problem.
You have a little bit of that, but you'd also have watchdog too. You kinda, they're good with the bad.
Like the phone company and
Yeah.
internet, you know.
Yeah, they'll send you both ways, but then one will tell you somebody else is cutting corners, so.
And if the board is concerned with the service agreement, like what Commissioner Becker discussed last week, then that there is that consideration.
What was it, 315?
350.
315,
Allows that-
448, 60.
Allows that to be paid over 3 years
Correct,
for a $4,000 fee a year.
correct.
So that's a little bit more budget friendly.
We can't finance it.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying, it's more budget friendly than the whole lobbing 280 in year one.
And the 280
That's
doesn't
correct.
get you the fire panel work done either.
The
20-some thousand you're at.
Well, the 287 does include the fire panel. The quote was, I think, 265 plus the
That's right.
22.
That's right, I saw that with the 22 added on top.
Correct, so the total solution is 287.
But if you look at the 3-year complete care support plus option for 3 years, if you take that off, ECC, the one quote is actually,
Plus,
you're actually more fiscally responsible to do that than paying, you may not have any maintenance costs over that 3 years, but if you do stuff that, you may be paying $30,000 a year for maintenance at an hourly rate versus.
Right.
The question becomes, if we do the 3-year, we get the $105,152 this year.
Courthouse multipurpose. Courthouse multipurpose is where it would have to come from.
correct.
You do have one other alternative that we,
Yeah, go ahead and throw it out there, Brad.
um,
Might as well think about it.
chapter 12. I think it's 1757. The county currently, I don't believe, has in place, and if I'm wrong about that, I apologize, a public building commission, which is an approach that you can take as an independent corporate entity if you want to borrow the funds on a short-term basis in an advantageous way, if that fits better in terms of cash flow and costing. Do it for various revenue generating things like city, a municipal pool, a community center. In a county setting, things like a jail, and any of the infrastructure improvements that you make to it on a periodic basis. A public building commission has a lot of flexibility in terms of the things for which you can borrow, and allows you to take advantage of lower rates during a particular time, cash it out if you wish. Just do a lot of things that are not quite as readily available in a general obligation bond setting. And it's more flexible in terms of the timing of it.
But that has to be established and
It does.
through the whole, jump through all the hoops.
It's not a,
Does it have to be established for each one-off case, or
No.
can it be established?
it's an umbrella organizational
Well, that's
structure.
probably something we ought to think about anyway.
Ongoing.
Yeah, but it's something we ought to probably think about establishing rather than last
Well,
minute.
yeah, I mean, I think that's a good thing to think about going down the road, but
There are a structural set of steps as you're asking, but it is not as onerous as, and if you just read the statute, you know, oh my, it isn't, I've done them a number of times.
Some of the stuff
What is advantageous, when it comes to financing though? I mean, you're still gonna have to put out for bids.
But you don't have the same issues that you would in terms of the formality of a general obligation bond. Also, your debt limit doesn't count. Not that you want to get so deeply in that the citizens are paying for the next 100 years.
Go ahead.
But it also has, the flexibility of it allows for partial borrowing for a funded project, a lot of different things that we don't have the ability to do through the temporary notes general obligation bond approach.
What about just lease purchase?
It's another option. You can enter into that through a public building commission if you wanted. And they then manage certain things in these different settings. Some of them are revenue generating, others, like a jail, are just a necessary service that you have to provide statutorily.
I think going forward, maybe we should keep that on the radar. But by the time we get that established and trying to do what we need to do here, I don't know.
Well,
More time sensitive.
if you had to take some action on this in the very short term, you can still establish it and roll that. If you can figure out how you're gonna handle at least an initial payment, roll it into kind of like a bridge loan for yourself, and then put it into a public building commission later and free those funds back up to something to consider.
But couldn't we do a lease purchase, actually do a lease purchase on this?
Yes.
Just like we've done anything else?
Yes.
I don't.
And there are a few extra steps on this
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah,
attached, like,
You might have less, you may have less entities that are interested in looking at it.
it would also be a little bit more expensive to do the lease purchase than a typical lease purchase. There would be some other steps that would have
That's
to.
why I think the 3-year payout is, to me, is the best option.
It'd be the quickest, get started.
Well, it's also the cheapest. That's cheap, it's
It's cheaper
there'd be
money.
less interest on this than there would be on a true lease purchase.
It's cheaper money. I'm combing through all the exclusions and stuff like that, and a few things. So there probably will be a few added costs, minor, from what I'm picking up. Just like if their equipment doesn't fit quite right, you're gonna have a contractor move certain things for them.
When they come in and did their walkthroughs, they pretty much indicated they thought that they could make everything
Plug and play.
in the racks that we have.
Okay. I'm just trying to, I know every time we do one of these projects, then the worst thing in the world is, well, why didn't they foresee that?
Right.
But X-ray,
Like I said,
X-ray vision doesn't
again,
exist.
When they come and looked, though, it wasn't the engineer that looked.
Yeah.
But he thought that with the pictures he took and everything, he took back to the engineering. Both of them, both companies did the same thing. They come in, walked through the building, took pictures of everything, and then went back to their engineers and said, okay, this is what we got, what can we do?
It's one of those things where it's just a little bit hard for the taxpayer to swallow because they don't see the exact need for those kind of things. I mean, if I'm just sitting back, I say, give the guy a key and open the door.
Welcome to my whole life.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking about a lot of safety issues here that
Absolutely.
they didn't worry about 1900.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to tell somebody they need something when they can't see it behind the walls.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'll make a motion that we proceed with ECC's quote on a 3-year payout, taking advantage of their $4,000 a year finance fee in the amount of $315,448.69.
I'll second that.
Motion
Mark seconded, okay. Any more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, guys.
When you get done with this, don't break it on the first week.
Well, hey, they got a service agreement for 3 years. Go ahead, yeah, test it as well as you can.
Ready for Sharon? Schedule.
Closer than I thought.
Good afternoon. Okay, so I think up first is my quarterly update for the Planning and Zoning and Environmental Health Department. I have a memo that was in your packets, and as you can see, some things have increased. You know, we get to this season and building starts to increase. We've had some new residences, accessory structures, wastewater systems, water wells, a couple of floodplain permits, 2 special event permits, and 1 waste reduction plan application. Along those lines, there's a list of those are the typical duties that we would perform just on a regular basis. Water screenings, wastewater inspections and site evaluations, certificate of occupancy inspections, employee evaluations. Well, that's not typical, but that was this time of year. Those list of items are things that we have completed during this past second quarter, which I believe was about mid-March through mid-June. And then a couple of things regarding the building and grounds out there at 1240 Commercial. And then with the Planning Commission cases, we've had text amendments, swearing in new members, updated the Planning Commission Board of Zoning Appeals bylaws. We've had a couple of work sessions on data centers, battery energy storage systems, the county comprehensive plan update, and then additional text amendments pertaining to wind energy ban. And then we will have conditional use permit applications coming up later this month, next month. Violations, that's kind of just a continuation of our last conversation here in this room. Conferences, trainings, and meetings. This time of year again is very heavy on trainings and conferences. So you see an uptick in those conferences, everything from planning and zoning conferences to different types of environmental health conferences, floodplain information, webinars, incident response trainings. Upcoming in the next quarter, we're scheduled for the methane monitoring and groundwater sampling at the closed county landfill, budget presentations, department head meeting, planning commission meetings, the KEHA conference, Marion County Purple Heart Day, LEPC meeting, and KAFM, the Floodplain Managers Conference. Those will all be upcoming in the next quarter. We were able to assist with 2 additional failing wastewater systems through the LEPP grant. And then looking ahead, kind of more long-term, again, the county comprehensive plan, we're just beginning discussions on that and we will be having some work sessions in the near future. Regulation text amendments after the county comprehensive plan update has been discussed further, then we may move into battery energy storage and data center regulations, depending on how that goes with the comprehensive plan. And then that's still kind of on here from the last time, lane management planning for the landfill site. Do you have any questions on the quarterly update? Pretty straightforward. Okay.
It's awkward silence, but usually that's good. That means you can just move on.
That's okay. No news is good news.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next item is the planning commission recommendations pertaining to zoning regulation text amendments. In your packet, you had the meeting of the May 28th planning commission meeting minutes. On March 16th, this board passed a resolution 2026-14 providing for a ban in certain identified townships and directed that the Unified Development Code, which would be the county zoning regulations, be updated to coincide with this resolution. So after proper notice in the newspaper and notification letters to city and township officials, a public hearing was held on May 28th. In a 7-4 vote, the Planning Commission voted to recommend certain text amendments to the current zoning regulations, being Article 19, Section 111 under prohibited uses, after the effective date of these regulations, adding point 8, so 19-11, number 8, the establishment of a commercial utility scale WEX project as defined herein is prohibited in the following townships: West Branch, East Branch, Liberty, Minnow, Peabody, Center, Clear Creek, Lehigh, Milton, Risley, Wilson, Gale, Durham Park, Colfax, and Catlin townships. And also changes to Article 27-103, the overlay district established, the proposed new language. The WEX overlay district shall apply to all of the unincorporated portions of Marion County, Kansas, except within those townships where WEX development is prohibited as listed under Section 19-111, number 8. Any questions or discussion on that item?
We can beat that horse in the ground. Let's go. Move on.
All right, so if there's a motion to accept those recommended text amendments, and then we also have a resolution.
Make a motion to accept those text amendments.
Second,
Second.
discussion?
Just a comment, prior to that time, I had made the motion to include just the 4 townships in southwest part of the county. And when it came back with the others, I didn't stand in the way of that, but I have received a lot of comments from the public. Why did you do that? Just a comment.
I'd say why we did it is because you can't just select 4 of them out. You gotta have a line that makes it that you're not picking and choosing.
We can always undo it too.
I get that, that's why I didn't move against it.
So
I'm just saying, I received a lot of comments.
because you could get sued the other way if you didn't make it just a threshold.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Mark?
Okay.
1.
Okay. Do you have a resolution number?
It'll be 2026.
22. On the day after the first one, I can kind of keep track.
Right. So we need to vote to accept that.
So we need a separate motion and a vote to adopt the resolution.
2026-22. So moved.
Second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Against?
So that resolution will be published in the official county newspaper and it will be effective after that point. And then I'll get a copy of those regulations again to update in your regulation books.
Just electronic is fine.
Thank you.
Just send me a new electronic. This is it.
I would be happy to do that.
My bag is already heavy. I don't need it. Or you can just put it on the cloud and give me a link. That works too. So.
You got questions for Sharon?
I just want to clarify a couple things from last week. Number one, regarding the ADLS system issues. First, a little bit of history. We originally talked about this on February 18th of 2025, a little over a year ago. There were comments that the cup says installed, that they do not have to function. But the cup actually says shall be used. And I want to give the definition of the word use. To put into service or employ for a purpose. In technology terms, refers to applying tools, systems, or methods to perform tasks or achieve goals. Back to the history, on March 10th, Orsted came in, and I realize this is a pat answer that their attorney instructs them to say to avoid liability. Says the system is installed, and this is Danny Sears-Greer from Orsted. The system is installed and in compliance with the CUP. They go on to say, none of us want these lights to be on. We want them to function as soon as possible. Sorry they don't work, but they are in compliance with the CUP. Again, Sharon, you indicated that the CUP actually says the system shall be used, not installed. They said we've got 4 lights and 1 fiber that need to be replaced, and we should be getting that done soon, and we will should be wrapping up in the next couple of weeks, and we will get back with you and let you know when we've got that done. That's 15 months ago. They never got back to us. And so the question of, are they in compliance, are they not? I think that is evident that they don't work. It is a system that includes the detection, the transmission, and the operation of the lights. It's not, you can't pick and choose what part of that system works for the purposes of this cup. So, I don't know, Brad, you'd said you were gonna draft a letter for us to review.
We're gonna talk today.
Okay. The next question I'd like to clarify is regarding the sound issues. And a question for you, Brad, just for my clarification, because my experience with contracts is that specifics in a contract take precedence over general.
In terms of interpretation of law, yes.
Contracts, specifics in a contract take precedence over general regulations or general terms.
So long as they're legal and enforceable, yes.
So, Sharon, you mentioned that our zoning regulations, I think it's in section, well, it's actually in Article 27, that the sound measurements are based on 55 decibels, A-weighted sound levels. However, in the cup, which is a specific contract for expedition wind, it is 55 decibels unweighted at any time, measured at the property line of any non-participating property, and 50 decibels unweighted. Now, unweighted sound, I'm not a sound expert, although I'm learning a lot more about it than I want. Unweighted sound is all sound spectrum that we can hear and that we can't hear. That's what is required in the cup. A-weighted, they actually discount low frequency and high frequency sound waves. Some of it is discounted as much as 20%. In the computer modeling that the sound meter does, it discounts those low frequency and high frequency sounds, both of which impact human health. Just because we can't hear it doesn't mean our bodies don't feel it. And so when my question becomes, how are they measuring the sound? Are they using an A-weighted? C-weighted is kind of in between. They don't discount the non-audible sound waves as much. And then there's Z-weighted. They kind of changed it. Kind of gone from unweighted or flat sound monitoring to what they call Z-weighted, which monitors all true sound. Whether we can hear it or not, those systems pick it up. In general, those Z-weighted sound monitoring activities in general are 10% higher in the rating that's received than A-weighted. So my question is, how are they, what are they using? Sharon, you said that you've checked complaints. What are you using to monitor those complaints?
Well, I just wanted to point out that in the next sentence, after what you read in the CUP resolution 2019-11, right after you read 50 decibels unweighted at any time measured at the exterior of a non-participating residence, existing at the time of this resolution. The next sentence is, provided that the zoning administrator shall have the authority to establish that decibel measurements be taken based on a reasonable weighted decibel measurement determined by the zoning administrator to be an appropriate basis to assess and control the relevant noise levels as they potentially impact neighboring properties. And then furthermore, along with the construction permit applications, the applicant will provide Marion County Zoning Administrator with third-party sound data created by the WEX for all residences within a half-mile of the turbine, which must demonstrate the projected compliance of the project with the sound restrictions. On July 26, 2019, there was a letter establishing the decibel measurements. DNV provided sound assessments. Regenerate, a renewable energy consultation company, provided a sound study. I guess I don't understand what your question is. What do I use?
Yeah.
I don't have equipment to measure decibels. So what I'd said at our meeting last week was that I addressed that concern with the wind farm, and then they've had Orsted, GE, and an engineering firm, a third-party engineering firm, go out and assess those sound levels at those turbines.
Which we still haven't seen. I still feel that decibel should be measured unweighted.
Okay, but that's the way it was written in the conditional use permit, so I don't know how you want to go back and change that.
Well, we can't go back and change it. I guess my question is, when did, or who approved, I guess I know who approved it, I guess we don't have to go there, but I still feel that there's a difference in weighted and unweighted.
Okay.
It says unweighted in the cup. To
Your feelings are duly noted, and I feel like it's this board's decision to determine if you want to do something else about that.
What kind of equipment are they using, or do you know?
I don't know.
Is somebody, could
It's an engineering firm that says that. I don't know.
you get some of that data brought back as far as what kind of equipment they're using?
Can I, or did I? Can I?
Do they use the same for weighted, unweighted, the same
It's just,
measures take?
There's a different.
I mean, when I used to use it, the elevator was probably far less sophisticated than what they're using, but I would like to know.
Sure. Yeah. And there are different methodologies to the different, like whether it's D or A or what scale they're actually using. So, yeah, I can find that out.
And then I'd also like to know how long they monitor the sound.
I think it's 1 hour LEQ.
That's insufficient.
According to,
The cup says at any time.
no, this is when they're testing it. If there's a complaint and they investigate it, that's how they measure it. That's how they test it.
Do they Do they test it? Do they monitor the conditions at the time? We heard from Mr. Britton, and I've observed it several times. When the wind's not, if you measure for an hour when the wind's not blowing and they're not turning, you're not gonna hear anything. If you measure when, at nighttime, when the wind's blowing 10 miles an hour and the humidity's up, it's significant. And I guess my point being, sound is a funny thing. I mean, there's days out there when you can't hardly hear them. There's other days when they're, and it varies from hour to hour. So, I mean, you can go out and if you're picking and choosing when you're monitoring that, are you actually capturing what happens at any time?
Right, there's ambient noise, there's humidity, weather conditions, I mean, all those different things affect sound. I mean, that's a given.
My point is, the cup says at any time, so they need to, 1 hour of monitoring doesn't.
Okay, what do you expect? What do you want?
Well, if there's a complaint, they need to find out from the complainant when this is happening, what are the conditions when this is happening, and they need to measure it during those conditions when.
So you want somebody to sit there for 12 hours and listen?
They don't have to sit there, they set up a sound device and they record for 24 hours. And
With the weather, the wind, sound does change with your radio or anything.
and so that's why I say, 1 hour of monitoring is probably insufficient because you're not capturing when, you may not be capturing what's truly happening out there. And so I would just like to ensure that monitoring is actually capturing what's happening out there and addresses
Is there a charge for this?
This would be, I mean, I pass this along to Sunflower Energy,
Fire bid for it?
and then that's their responsibility to come up with that number. I mean, if you wanna contest it, you can contest it.
No letter. You can set out that demand. I say that in the, not like it's adversarial per se, but want it done for more than, what's your current protocol? The preference would be, given that it can be at any time, they'll argue that.
Industry standards.
Well, can be, but we also can go ahead and establish a parameter that you wish to have observed. See, and then you say yes or no to that, and then we go from there.
at the very least, the standard needs to be that it's monitored during conditions identified by the complainant.
Playing devil's advocate with that, and I'm not arguing it. It's that we're putting the onus on that complainant. What was the wind speed that day? What were the humidity conditions at that time? What exactly was the time frame within which you observed a noise complaint? They'll have to do that because they can come back and demand, all right, tell us what the conditions were, and then we will go ahead and monitor. And at that point where we feel like that's likely to occur within the next 24 hours, even if they set it up, they don't have to be there, as you say. Set it up for 24 during that period of time because we have a forecast of those same kinds of conditions. Follow what I'm saying? So we can, to honor that, do that. So we're going to put some onus on the property owner to give some very specific information that they may or may not have. It's the only trouble I see with it.
And in general, I mean, you don't have to have all the specifics, but if they say, you know, it's when the wind's out of the south at 5 to 10 miles an hour, it's crazy.
Actually, more along the lines of, I noticed this on Thursday afternoon, month and day, at about 2:30. The rest of us can then, including them, can reproduce what the weather conditions were at that time, and then look for a similar day and at another time to go ahead and take those readings. So it's not completely onerous, but they're going to have to be able to say, I've noticed it for the last 3 weeks. That's not going to get it as readily as here's when I really noticed it.
Anything else?
Not right now.
Sharon? Let's get started.
2 weeks ago, had some Hillsborough officials in talking about some of the water issues that are being encountered by utilizing reservoir water, which 3 communities in this county equaling about half the population have to deal with. Hillsborough was able to get the use of this buoy system with federal help that gives the water operator in Hillsborough at the plant a heads up when a algae bloom is to occur. Or we're right in the middle of one right now, as of Friday. To their knowledge, they didn't know that the feds were going to cut that funding. I mean, in essence, we all should probably know, don't rely on Fed funding. But that funding has been cut, and they were in asking if there was any way that the county could help with something in regards to that. The more that I think about that, it probably would have been wise on the city's management to budget for that, even though they were getting federal money. But, maybe those kind of funds aren't readily available to budget for. So when I look at it, it's a health, safety, and welfare issue. For not just for them, but for the county. I mean, we're looking at half the population out there. And so I've had some more talk with the officials, and of course, from this point on out, they're going to take care of that through their budgetary process and whatever it's going to cost them in increased mill or whatever. But being we're talking about 3 communities at this point and half of the population, and water's, in the end, if you don't have healthy, safe water, what do we have in this county? And I think if we can do something in a smaller way to help that process, because Hillsborough did, when they put in that water plant, they could have put in a lot smaller water plant, lot less sophisticated. Maybe Joan will disagree with me. That water plant has the capability of supplying water for the whole county. Now, it would take a lot of infrastructure to be able to use it for the whole county, but it has the potential to do that. And we have some huge water issues in this county. I've been to a lot of the water board meetings. Rural Water District #1 handles most of the water in the north part of the county. And it's not just human consumption, it's also livestock consumption. That is an aging system that has some real issues. They are going to start a engineering study to see what can be done to maintain that system to where it's viable without totally rebuilding everything, which monetarily wise might be impossible. But they're taking the right step by starting the engineering study. But that being said, as a short-term help, I would recommend that we would use some wind farm funds to help in those situations as a short-term fix to allow these entities to get proper budgetary set up, and we can have more discussion on it. I know that the total commission may not agree with me, but and the city of Marion has not been in, but I would leave that open-ended for them to do that. But my recommendation would be to award City of Hillsborough $10,000 to maintain that buoy system, and to award Rural Water District #1 $5,000 to help with their engineering study. And that would be left open for Marion to make a similar request.
I go one step further. I wish we had the funds that were set aside. So right now there's grant funds for your well water. Sharon can actually get you some money. But if we could use that money that she already has, we could fix this situation, but we can't use it.
The other issue with that, Jonah, is that a lot of well water in Marion County is not even potable.
Right. And I've been to a few. I've seen the scrubber systems. Yeah. But I'm in all fairness, I appreciate the Hillsborough thing because I live there. But I would think that if we're gonna do for one, we should do for all of them. So if you're gonna
That's why I left it open-ended.
If you're gonna go 10 to Hillsborough, we need to do 10 to Marion and 10 to Peabody. Because they're all off that boost.
I would just like to see Marion come in and say, we would like to utilize the same thing.
I mean, I think that the request was the cost, just a couple points if it's okay. The overall cost that they were trying to fund is $60,000.
Right.
Hillsborough and Marion both said they could come up with their share, $20,000 each, and they were looking for the county to come up with the remainder. So,
I think it's the other way.
pardon me?
I think it's 40. They were needing 40.
40.
They were needing 40. They came up with 20.
Yeah,
Not the 60.
Hillsborough said 40.
Okay, what I understood Morgan to say was that Marion and Hillsborough were funding like a third of it. So I may have misunderstood.
Tell me if I'm statutorily or any other way out of place.
They weren't. It was my understanding they were not going to be asking Peabody for. Okay.
I mean, Peabody's, getting their water from Hillsborough.
Right.
All of the treatment comes through the Hillsborough plant. And so that's where the issue lies.
So if you do it per capita, then it's still 10 grand per community.
That's what I'm saying.
The other question or point is, we did have the rural water district in here months ago asking about asking for help with, water quality issues. We didn't have the district, but we had persons affected by the water.
We've had that all last summer.
Right, and do we have other rural water districts then that you would have to consider? And then also, sorry.
Never ends.
I would.
I know I'm setting a precedent here. I get that. Rural Water District number 1 is probably the oldest system in the county. The others have come in from out of county. And
Just want to make sure that
and put in new,
whatever you're looking
and put in new
at.
lines. I mean, Rural Water District, was it 2 or 4 that comes into goes through Hillsborough?
4.
That's based out of Mound Ridge. But they have an office in
I
Hillsborough.
say they offer in Hillsborough, they employ everybody from Hillsborough.
Right. But those lines were brought in from out of county. The one down by Peabody comes in out of either Harvey or Butler.
I don't know which
Or
county. but
is it actually, it may still be in Harvey County, but it serves residents in Marion County.
Well, I have some concerns. If you look at Hillsborough city budget for 2026, they're projecting income of $145,000 on interest on idle funds.
That's a projection.
Well, the projection for current year was $140,000, or the 2025. Or the actual for 2024 was here.
Hi there, how are you? Good.
And if you look at that, there was a contingency fund in the water department.
The water department, their budget, either way, if you're projecting $145,000 in interest in a year, you're sitting on a big chunk of change. If I was making $145,000 a year on interest, I'd never have to work again in my life. Their projections for 2026, collections, $1.3 million.
Their bond payment,
That's their,
what's their bond payment?
In looking at budgets for municipalities, if they do have a utility fund, they have a lot of flexibility generally for being able to do transfers and fund their services, utilizing excess.
I can tell you that
Funds.
Hillsborough utilities don't pay a damn dime. They don't make any money, except for electric. Electric gets robbed all the time to pay for everything else. So,
You know, just like any business expense that you look at right now, in the last even 2 years, if you double that, it's not even covered.
the water department, again, this is their budget. They're transferring out $200,000 out of the water department into the general fund. And they have an $80,000 contingency fund. I guess my question, if I remember right, they found out in January that federal funding wasn't gonna be available anymore, so they've had 4 months before they came to us to make budget adjustments.
You just said they wanted to pay a third of it.
I have to look at the notes from that session. I may be misremembering. I thought it was a third that they were
$10,000.
trying to raise. But, and water quality is super important. I mean, I don't disagree. I feel like it's my job to make sure that whatever you're trying to do, you're thinking of the overall solutions for people and not necessarily, I'm just concerned a little bit that if we do one thing here, we're gonna be doing it. It just needs to be done thoughtfully, I think.
You're gonna be doing it for Marion, then every
Marion's already
rural
done it.
water district is gonna come in and want something. Harvey County, because they service a portion of, I'm on Harvey County Rural Water, because they service a portion of Marion County, then they're gonna come in and they're gonna want money to do something. I just feel, with an $80,000 contingency fund, transferring $200,000 out of the water department into the general fund, they're paying $125,000 on bond and interest. Granted, they're spending everything, but with an $80,000 contingency fund, that $20,000 that they were short, that's only 25% of their contingency fund. And my question becomes, what have they done internally to make up that shortfall this year?
Well, we don't run the city.
I know we don't run the city, but we don't need to bail them out if they're not being fiscally responsible.
I think
Hillsborough putting in 42 new addresses, that's property tax.
Yeah.
They're putting in O'Reilly's, that's or sales tax. I mean, we can look at where the economic drivers of this county are.
I feel we need to do this for water quality.
That's our job, health, safety, and welfare, that's the number one job. We're not doing that, we're not doing our job.
Water district, we just need to look at individually each one of them, if they request.
We've got different issues with all of them. This is a common problem with all these three entities.
Yeah.
This is an algae deal for 1 year. The rural water one up there,
Yeah.
that's in manganese and,
Iron and manganese.
yeah, so it's a,
But I'm talking just about as much about the aging system.
Okay.
They're gonna have to have an engineering study to say, wait a minute, we got a mile here that has to be replaced. Here's another mile up here that's gonna have to be replaced, just because of aging out of the system.
once we get into the infrastructure part and not just testing water quality, now we have
No, this is
why.
This is an engineering study on the system, the whole system. It's not just an engineering system on how do we make the water cleaner, I guess you'd say.
And I get it, the whole Pandora's box it begins to open up, because Lehigh, the not quality, but just consumption, having availability.
We can't ignore it.
Yeah.
I mean, we need to,
You ain't got water, you ain't got people.
we need to get it on the beginning, fix it, not wait till it's broken.
I mean, the aquifer that Lehigh and Durham and Rural Water District number 1 on has a much better quality of water than comes out of the reservoir. The issue is when you've got aging lines, and they didn't have when it was engineered back way in, they did not have a way to flush lines.
Mm-hmm.
They've been addressing that because they thought for years you had a water leak and your water turned brown for 4 days. Well, just leave your garden hose on. Well, they came to find out you can't get enough pressure to clean out any line.
No.
You have to have regular flush out, like a fire hydrants, to get enough pressure to clean the lines.
In keeping with not doing anything that first comes to us, I'm going to punt this to next week for me.
Is there any specific information that you all want for that discussion?
Pretty simple.
Yeah, I know it's pretty simple, but we don't allow
They asked for it.
anybody else to dump something on our lap and then
They asked for it last week, so.
Yeah.
That doesn't count.
Yeah, I guess it does.
Yeah, we could vote on it because
Yeah.
they made the presentation 2 weeks ago.
Alright. Then I'll make a motion that we, I don't even know what fund pull it from. Wind farm pilots, I guess. Make a motion that 10,000 per city utilizing the algae bloom buoy system. So that would be 10 to Peabody, 10 to Marion, and 10 to Hillsborough.
Why would we include Peabody on it when Hillsborough, though, is the one that's treating it?
They still have to pay for it.
You already asked for 10 to begin with.
Hillsborough's treated, but Peabody still pays for it.
Okay, I'm not gonna argue. I'll second.
This is for $40,000.
30.
30.
30. You can,
Any other discussion?
Well, I won't win the battle, but where I live, there is no rural water district, and I see no reason why I have to help pay for somebody else's. Well, laugh at it all you want to. My watering system for my feedlot cost me over $100,000. And I still have to maintain it just like any other thing. Not that I still don't own it today, but it is quite costly to have it. And there's no assistance for me.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Aye.
Aye.
It's 3-2.
Gonna have to have a discussion about the other parts that you brought up.
District 1.
I already told you what my thought was. I'd like to help them with the engineering study because it's gonna, I don't know what the total cost is gonna be. I know they've applied for some grant funds. A system that big, you could easily have a $100,000 engineering study.
They've applied for some grant funds. I would wait to see what comes through there. My opinion, not saying that we shouldn't help them. But I know that he's applied for grants and they still found they were short.
You know, another issue was for some reason rural water districts didn't qualify for COVID funds. None of them got any. And yet they gave out, I think, over 2,000 PPP loans in Marion County.
Brad's turned out.
I'm sorry.
It's your turn.
Yep. Executive session. Potential litigation, attorney-client privilege.
No.
15 minutes.
Move that we recess the executive session in order to discuss potential review litigation pursuant to KSA 75-43B, consult with our attorneys, the matters deemed privilege under attorney-client privilege with the board, Brad and Tina, for 15 minutes, you said? Two wait. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're coming.
Market sessions now. Decisions for free. Anything else? Commissioner's comment?
KAC is looking for what you would like to have in your December trainings. They're looking for ideas, so if anybody's got some or part of some other boards or associations, if you could throw those out so that it makes it beneficial for everybody. Motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.